Welcome back, good people, to the Midnight Mirage. And I just want to thank everybody for supporting the YouTube channel. So in this video, we will have some important lessons in leadership. And we will talk about some important principles of leadership. All right. So this video will be in the area of lessons in leadership. And we're going to talk about certain principles of leadership and just certain things that you need to be aware of if you are going to be in a leadership position at some point in your life, or you may be currently in that position. Okay. When you're in the leadership position, that's very, very important because, you're the captain of the ship. You're driving the ship. All right. You're steering the wheel. So not only do you have to be accountable for yourself, but for all the people involved, you have to be accountable for them as well. When it comes to success in life, whether it's the business world, the sports world, or it could just be basic neighborhood watch, greater things can be achieved when you work in a group. All right. So the individual man, he can conquer and he'll get to a certain, status in life. But in order to go to the next level, you do have to work with other people. And this is something that's very, very important for so-called Black American men to understand, that no matter what walk of life you're in, it's going to be easier to achieve a lot when you work with other brothers. Like, I'll give you a basic example. So let's say there was an investment, all right? And, you could have made the investment by yourself, but let's say you went and got 5 other brothers to work with, and everybody put up a certain amount of money. When a profit comes, there will be more than likely more profits to distribute amongst all the investors or the financiers. So you would probably be able to make a larger return in that, group investment versus you just by yourself. So that's an example of, working with someone else and how you could get a greater return in it, because even when you're working in a group setting, it already has to be understood that everybody wants, something out of this so they could take it home to their family and friends and support the people that they're responsible for. And that's what all the men, collectively have in common. So that's the common interest, that we all need resources to go back and support our own families. So having that in mind, that's one of the important principles of leadership, understanding that, everybody has to get something out of this. All right. So this has to work for everybody. It can't be, like this part of the crew, won, and then this other part of the group, was manipulated, or they were deceived, or, they were robbed, or they were even stolen from. But, that's just very important. Another thing that's important is communication, meaning that the leader has to communicate with everybody involved and make sure that everybody's on the same page, has, somewhat of an understanding of what's going on, and everybody knows their role and what's expected of them. And if there are any questions and concerns, there needs to be a healthy environment made by the leader so people can, express what they feel without feeling any type of judgment, and feeling like they'll be accepted. Because you got to also understand, too, in a group dynamic, everyone has a different mentality. Everyone has different behaviors. Everyone has different emotional patterns. Everyone has a different background, maybe that they grew up in, different personalities. So as a leader, you got to be able to assess all of that and understand that everybody's going to play a different role. An example I like to give is let's say you're eating a full course meal. All right. When you're eating a full course meal, let's say you may have a piece of grilled chicken, and then you may have some soup, and then you may have, let's say, some pasta, let's say, and then you may have some, something to drink. Out of everything that you want to consume, you're going to need a different type of utensil to consume that. You're going to need a fork for some, you're going to need the spoon, and you're going to need the knife for some. In life, we all have a certain skill set where we represent either the fork, the spoon, or the knife. All right. So you may have the skill set of the spoon. So if you have the skill set of the spoon, in order for you to consume the full course meal, aka in order to really get what you're supposed to get out of this lifetime and maximize your life energy, really reach your maximum potential and be able to give the earth environment what you came here to do. In order for you to really do that, if you represent a spoon, then you're going to have to go find the fork and the knife, your complementary, we'll say, pieces, which are represented in some other human being that has mastered that area. If you already represent the fork, then you need to go find the spoon and the knife. If you represent the knife, you need to go find the spoon and the fork. So it's all about, having the knowledge of self, being able to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then the people that you are around in a group or in an environment, being able to assess their strengths and weaknesses as well. And, the weaknesses, try to strengthen them for each party involved. All right. So a leader, you got to have that 3-dimensional thought process to be able to know, based on certain choices and decisions that are made in the now, what may happen as a result of that down the line. You also got to understand as the leader that, when everything goes right, you're going to get the credit. You're going to get, a little bit of praise. But when one thing goes wrong, it's going to be your fault. Okay. So there's a lot of power and responsibility that comes with leadership. And the so-called Black American man, must know this, must understand this, and must accept this, because this is part of manhood, and this is part really of just championship building. Now, you may wonder why I have the image of Death Row Records, or, the 4 individuals who are the prominent men in Death Row Records, why I may have them on the screen. Because in this Lessons in Leadership, we're going to look a little bit into just some of the things that I've evaluated about Death Row Records and why ultimately I think it failed. And, it was for a variety of reasons, okay? But I want to just zoom in on this specific phenomenon of leadership when it pertains to Mr. Suge Knight and when it pertains to Tupac, all right? So, in the early days of Death Row, of course, it was started out by Suge Knight and Dr. Dre. Suge Knight was playing the role as the business executive. He was playing the role as the publisher and the administrator. And he was, getting the company distribution deals with larger publishing and distribution companies and getting financing. So he was doing a lot of the business side of what we call the entertainment industry, constructing the contracts, making sure that all the split sheets were signed after, certain records were done, making sure all the percentage points on all the records were appropriated properly, and making sure that all signatures were on these documents, because these are, documents used to substantiate percentages and ownership when you go to collect royalties and things of that matter. So Suge Knight, he was responsible for things like that. He was also responsible for the administration of the catalogs for all the producers and songwriters that were, signed to the label. And early on, if I can remember correctly, I think he had a joint partnership with Dr. Dre, who had, been signed with Ruthless Records and Eazy-E with NWA. But he basically helped him get out of that situation, and now he was signed with Death Row as a executive producer. And because Dr. Dre's contract was designed a certain way, let's just say he was tied in with Death Row, right? So Dr. Dre is doing the music side. He's producing beats. He probably is also looking for artists to rap on his beats. And with these artists, he's helping them, create songs. So, for example, they created The Chronic, which was Dr. Dre's album that he put out in 1992, which was some of the first success, so-called hip-hop success that Death Row, experienced. And, this really opened up their careers. And also, we know on The Chronic, this is when Snoop Dogg was starting to be featured, and he was starting to, get his face shown in the rap scene. So the business model at this time was Suge Knight representing the publisher on the business side, the executive, and then you had Dr. Dre and the artists like a Snoop Dogg representing the, recording artists and the performing artist side, right? So that was, how Death Row was set up. And Dr. Dre early on wanted the responsibility to be able to find the artists and sign them. So, initially, Dre wanted to be able to be in control of like the talent and the music part, and should just more so stay behind the scenes and just do like the business side of it, not necessarily participating in, the creation of the music. And even though he may have gotten certain executive producer points, but, he wasn't really involved in like that musical creative process. Dr. Dre more so wanted control of that. And I think early on, that's how this situation was, right? And it worked out for him because, we all have heard, The Chronic. And then eventually when Doggy Style came out, we've all heard that because Snoop Dogg brought in the Dog Pound, You know what I'm saying? Some of the brothers from Long Beach, some of the other Crips, and guys he grew up with, and that he had like a close relationship with, and they were helping him put his music together. So when you had the Dog Pound, Snoop, and Dr. Dre, they were all making good music. This is those early days in the early '90s with Death Row, and of course Suge Knight. He's playing the cut in the back. So in this situation, really the leader is going to be Suge Knight, okay? Because if I also can remember correctly, Suge Knight was a little bit older than them, all right? Suge Knight had been educated at UNLV, and I believe he went for business administration, okay? So he wasn't just like, some ignorant guy that didn't understand the business. Suge Knight was entering the entertainment industry already with an understanding of business, entrepreneurship, and then he was willing to learn. So this wasn't just some, Rudy Poot guy that didn't know what was going on. Like he was a very, very, smart and savvy man. He knew how to find financiers, etc. So this is what the position he's playing. But he's a little bit older. He's the one really responsible for getting the money and dealing with the foreigners, dealing with the Caucasian Jewish executives at Interscope, and really consulting with them and taking care of business in that regard. Because the truth is that early on, I guarantee people like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, like when them guys were young, they didn't have the courage and they didn't have the mental capacity and the prerequisite knowledge needed to sit in the meetings with somebody like a Jimmy Iovine and these older executives, what I'm saying, that are foreigners at that, over these companies that they're signing with. So the fact that they had Suge Knight, who was educated, and he physically had an appearance and a stature that was intimidating, so that made the artist very comfortable too, that he would be able to get things done and they won't get tried and stuff like that, right? So Suge had a very, very important role to make sure that the operation went smooth. All right. I'm just painting that background because I want you to seal that in your mind, that position that Suge Knight had and how important it was, right? So now I want to talk a little bit about, when some of the problems came in. The main issue or one of the main issues I'll say, as far as when it comes to Suge Knight and Tupac, why Death Row failed, it was the lack of understanding personality assessment. I'm going to say that one more time. It was the lack of understanding personality assessment. And as far as with Tupac, a lot of it was his own ego and his energy and like a lack of knowledge of self. And I'll tell you why I say that in a minute. So some of the early things that I saw, that was a mistake that Suge Knight made was when Suge was at the studio, which was his office, so he got Dre and Snoop and all the other guys in there making music. But what he started to do is like, I guess some of his personal homeboys that he may have grown up with and people he was cool with, he started allowing them to come to the studios and hang out. And they may have not really been part of the business. These may have just been guys he was cool with and, they were in the area. And, these guys were coming from more, but let's say a street background. All right. And a lot of these guys were real bloods. You know what I'm saying? Some of them had just gotten out of prison. Some of them, were already in the streets. But, these was like some real deal, gangsters, I'll say. All right. And when you got them type of brothers in the studio, they in there, what I'm saying, expressing and displaying gang street culture. And what that's going to do is it's going to make the business environment uncomfortable for people who are not used to that, who ain't on that type of time, and who they're really just to work. So you may have had other people there in the business, let's say, that may have just been the secretary. It could have been a male or a female, right? Because Suge Knight was employing a lot of so-called black people. Like a lot of so-called black people that were just graduating college, that may have just been from the streets or just getting out of jail. Suge Knight was putting a lot of people on from all walks of life. Some of them that was so-called nerds and people that was so-called street. So you had a lot of different personalities that were involved in the Death Row company. But when you, like I say, when you got these gangster bloods in the building, they gonna have people feeling a little intimidated. You know what I'm saying? Just by how these guys are coming. So you got the bloods in the building, the bloods in the studio, and that's making Dre feel uncomfortable. Because let's look and evaluate Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg's personalities. Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg have more of that laid back personality type. You know what I'm saying? More so chilled, play the cut smooth type. You know, you can hear it in Dr. Dre's productions, and you can really see it in how Snoop Dogg carries himself. You know what I'm saying? The way he talks. You know, he more of that suave player type. You know what I'm saying? Because Snoop Dogg, you know, a lot of his personality probably was influenced by certain things and, you know, so-called black entertainment during the 70s when he was growing up that he was watching, that he liked certain movies and stuff like that. You know, and Dr. Dre, when it came to his music, he was into a lot of the funk music, you know, because that was the type of stuff they probably listened to as they were coming up. A lot of those older baby boomers that they were growing up around, that was the music that they were playing. So that was influenced with how their energy and they swag, you know what I'm saying, and how they style was. You saw it show up in their music. And I think that's why Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg kind of gravitated towards each other, because they weren't, I won't necessarily say that they were introverted, but they had more of a calm, laid back type of energy, kind of like how Biggie Smalls was. More of like a chill, laid back, you know, type energy. You know what I'm saying? They can get attention, but they ain't really got that type of personality like this bright burning sun that's like naturally commanding a whole bunch of attention, if you get what I'm saying. So that was the energy that was leading Death Row, and that was generating a lot of the revenue. It was coming from Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, more of that chill, laid back, you know, kind of player, introverted personality, you know, calm, cool type of guys. You know what I'm saying? So when them Bloods was in there, you know, it had them feeling insecure. And then Dr. Dre, you know, he probably can't really focus like he needs to in the studio. Another thing you got to think about is this. Suge Knight showed poor leadership when, you know, the Crip and Blood conflict that was going on in South Los Angeles or Southern California. You know what I'm saying? It's been going on since what, like the 70s, late 60s. So that beef is much older than, you know, a lot of the brothers in the streets. But I will say this. When it came to some of the Compton Bloods, the Mob Piru that was associated with Suge Knight, and when it came to some of the Long Beach Crips and some of the other Crips that may have been associated with Snoop Dogg, I'm not saying that Suge Knight could have solved the Blood and Snoop, now really not just Suge Knight, but Suge and Tupac. I'm not saying that they could have probably solved the Blood and Crip beef that was going on at Greater Los Angeles. But when it came to a lot of those conflicts between, you know what I'm saying, some of the Crips and Bloods within Death Row, and how when Tupac came on the scene, he kind of gravitated more towards Suge and the Bloods. But then on the other side of Death Row, you had Snoop Dogg, the Dogg Pound, and some of the Crips. Mind you, they all on the same label. They all represent the same business. You feel me? So now you got one group representing red, one group representing blue, but everybody trying to get the green, aka the money. And see, the leadership being Suge Knight and the one who's the elder, he's supposed to say, look, y'all, I know, I understand some people in here on the blue side, some people in here on the red side, and we ain't gonna necessarily disrespect that, but in here, we all on the green side. You feel me? And we all melanated American men. So right now, we all on the green team. You know what I'm saying? We about to produce these records. You know, y'all about to get in the studio and record. I'm going to make sure we go get the publishing funds for this, and we going to make some money from this and letting that be the main focus. But that's not what Suge Knight did. Like, what Suge Knight did was he started trying to act like he wanted to be looked at as like the big mafia blood. You know what I'm saying? He wearing the all red. You know, he got all the blood gangsters around him, and it was glorifying his ego. Because that probably was something that Suge Knight low-key, you know what I'm saying? I ain't saying it was something maybe he always wanted to do, but I can tell he was glorifying that when he was coming up in the streets. So when he got that opportunity with Death Row, he did it. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? He did it. So that was a problem right there. Like Suge Knight letting the gang culture influence the business culture of Death Row. And that was a great mistake he made. Another thing is this. I want you to think about how when Tupac comes on the scene. So remember, you got Dr. Dre and Snoop, who got that calm, introverted type personality. But then you got Tupac Shakur coming, who has more of a fiery, extroverted, strong aura, strong energy, attention-grabbing type of power. Okay? So think about Tupac Shakur, you know what I'm saying? He kind of loud. You know, he's very expressive. You know what I'm saying? He make a lot of hand gestures. You know what I'm saying? Bro got that Gemini energy. You know, think about like how Kanye West is. Think about how Donald Trump is. So that's kind of like that strong Gemini, strong communication, like, and it's very powerful, and it can attract people. Because think about how a lot of people were attracted to Tupac's, his energy. Like when he would just be in an interview and he would be just talking about, his philosophies of life or something like that. He kind of was an interesting guy to where if he was talking, you would want to see what he was saying. Whereas with like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, nobody really trying to sit down and hear no interview from them and, what they think about history or Machiavellianism or something like that. You're not trying to hear no Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg interview on that. But Tupac Shakur, oh yeah. Because Tupac may say something that, you know what I'm saying, you may have never really thought about before. So you got to understand, like, the Almighty Creator gave all of us something special, and all of our personalities expressed differently. So it wasn't like Tupac was being fake. That's just naturally how his personality was. And people that have that type of a personality, they a lot of the times they don't probably consciously try to be an attention seeker. It just naturally happens. But when you lack knowledge of self and you lack knowledge of your own personality assessment, and you're not aware that your personality is that, you're not aware that your personality is this bright star that everybody can see and commands a lot of attention. When you're not aware of that, then you're going to start facing some problems. And one of the problems that happened is that, like I said, okay, Tupac, he comes in, and the way his energy is so strong, Suge Knight kind of gravitate more towards Tupac. And remember, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg had made Death Row millions. So they already was making money in Death Row. It wasn't like when Tupac came, that was the first time they was making money. They already had millions from the Doggy Style and from the Chronic. So, but because Tupac's energy was so powerful, Suge Knight kind of naturally gravitated towards it instead of making it like a big three type thing. You feel me? So remember when Boston had the big three and it was KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen? Notice how the front office made it seem like, nah, y'all the big three. It ain't really about just one guy. Because think about it, Paul Pierce had been on Boston by himself for years. But when Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett came, it was now about the big three. Now it ain't about just Paul Pierce. And Paul Pierce let that part of his ego go so he could get that greater accomplishment, which was that championship. Some he had never done before. He had done a lot of good individual things, but he was trying to get to the next level. So it had to become the big three. It can't be Paul Pierce no more. So that's what should have been with Death Row. Suge Knight should have seen, wait a minute. No, it can't just be like Tupac the man and then Dr. Dre and Snoop over there. No, like all three of y'all got to be together. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, all three of y'all the big three. You feel me? Y'all, all three of y'all the triangle offense, or however he wanted to express it to them. But Suge Knight should have more so played that role. And he should have also understood the personality that Tupac got more of a fiery personality and that Dre and Snoop got more of an introverted personality. So it's going to polarize them. They're going to kind of repel off each other and like, make the other one feel a little bit awkward and insecure. So he has to play that role as the mediator and kind of mellow it out so everybody can calmly interact and synthesize together. And also that was on that was on Tupac too, because Tupac should have realized, you know what I'm saying, just from growing up, his personality and energy always was like that. So it ain't like when he went on Death Row, that was the first time in his life where his fiery energy probably made niggas feel kind of insecure. That wasn't the first time Tupac had experienced that. Because I think he got on Death Row when he was what, like 24, 25, something like that. So bruh had already been living a long time and had situations in his life where he probably had experienced, niggas feeling kind of funny when you come around and you know what I'm saying, you got this fiery, stellar star type energy. And you like this blazing sun. And it's like other niggas like, damn, this shit kind of blinded me. Like, like pipe down a little bit. You feel me? Like, but Tupac didn't understand that because maybe his ego, liked getting all that attention. And maybe, he didn't understand that you don't have to dim your light, but what you got to do is you have to bring that light that's in other people. You got to help bring that out of them. So that part about Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, You know, like kind of like say, you know, nah, them my niggas over there. You feel me? Like salute to my nigga Dr. Dre. You know, shout out my nigga Snoop or whatever. Like, cause you know they gonna more so play the cut and be quiet when you around Tupac because you got the powerful energy. You feel me? Like them niggas ain't gonna be able to say nothing when you in the room and everybody gonna look at them. They gonna look at you, Pop. So it's up to you to realize, like, I gotta keep everybody in the fold. You know what I'm saying? As the big three, because naturally everybody gonna look at me. You feel me? So I gotta make sure that I'm not finna dim my light, but I'm gonna make sure the light that my niggas got, I gotta make sure that people see them too. Because they introverted natural personality is just not as strong as mine. It ain't gonna attract as much attention as mine. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that the leaders have to be conscious of. But Suge and Pop wasn't conscious of that shit. And then as a result, look what happened. You know? You had your Las Vegas situation, you know, all those divisions between Bloods and Crips, you know, Bloods and Crips within Death Row divided, and then Bloods and Crips within Los Angeles and Southern California divided. So now when it comes to the Mob Piru and the Southside Crips beef, which was a real beef, that ain't got nothing to do with no Death Row shit. These was real street niggas. Like when it came to the Mob Piru, Compton Crips, Compton Bloods, and they was going against some of the Southside Crips, I think the Compton Crips. Yeah, that ain't got nothing to do with no Death Row. That's bigger than Death Row. That was going on before Death Row. And then that shit spilled over. So now Tupac, you know what I'm saying? He now hanging with these Bloods that got these real Crips that they really beefing with. You know? And then now he kind of caught up in that shit and we all know what happened. You know what I'm saying? So am I saying that that's, you know, I mean, I ain't gonna lie with that Tupac, how he actually, his death, is so much scrutiny to that. I don't really want to go into that right now. But we just want to stick to that thing about the lessons in leadership. How Tupac and Suge should have been, you know, they could have been a little wiser when it came to that personality assessment. But it really was more on Suge Knight. I'm going to put it more on Suge Knight than even Tupac. You know, and I'm not saying that it's his fault that people died and certain negative things happened. Because everybody's a grown man and everybody make their own choices. But I will say, as a leader, you know what I'm saying? When it came to the company and all the people involved, you a couple years older, you know, you are more experienced and you really are more intellectual than these guys in certain regards. And with Tupac, I think Tupac may have been just as intellectual. And I do think he could have communicated with Tupac. I just don't think that Suge was really doing it, though, because, you know, maybe he had his mind on other stuff. So some of that immature stuff Tupac was doing and some of that ego stuff Tupac was doing, Suge didn't really pipe him down. He ain't pulling to the side and like, hold on, just kind of chill out, little bro. Like, you know, you already know how Dre and Snoop, you know what I'm saying? You know, them niggas more in the cut. Like, you know, you don't want to make them boys feel awkward, you know, and then Pop them like, damn, bro, you right. You know what I'm saying? Let me goddamn turn my niggas up or whatever. Like, I think Tupac would have understood it had he been able to explain it the right way. But the reason why Suge Knight couldn't explain it the right way, because he didn't know that shit. Remember, like, if Tupac was 25 when he died, Suge Knight already was in his late 20s, early 30s. So these weren't like no young niggas like that. You know what I'm saying? All them Mob Piru Bloods, and these niggas was like in their early 30s, mid 30s. Tupac was a young nigga. Them niggas was older. So this is the importance, man, when it comes to lessons in leadership. Like, as a leader, you got to step up and say the right thing. Suge Knight should have told his blood homeboys, look, I got y'all up here to do security, all right? So that means that you stay in the front, you know what I'm saying? You check everybody who come in the door or whatever. And you over here, you do this security job. Other than that, ain't no other Bloods up here just, you know, bullshitting around. You know what I'm saying? If we got a concert or we got to do a tour or something like that, or we all about to just go shop, or it's something specific that we doing and I call all the guys up, yeah, that's cool. But if we up here in the studio and we got to record this music and we paying overhead costs in here, you know what I'm saying? We getting taxed on, you know, collection fees from Interscope. So then we got advances. We got to recoup and all that. Nah, bro, it's too much business going on. Like, we can't be up here fucking around. And should have had the nuts to tell them niggas that. And they would have respected it. Should have got all the money. You the leader. You the big dog. What them niggas gonna say? You think they gonna go back to Compton in the hood where ain't nothing going on just because? No, them niggas would have been like, you know what, Suge, you right. You know what I'm saying? They would have fell in line. So It really was on Suge, in a way. And now look what Suge at. You know, he in prison. So this is some of the tests that the Most High will put men through that get certain power. And it's all through biblical history. You know what I'm saying? So biblical history also shows you a lot of lessons in leadership that we can learn from. But I just want to put this out here so, you know, just something for you to think about. But, you know, salute your boy Blackbeard, you know, the whole Red Stick family. We out here and we out.